We all know who Super Mario is, and how most of the games in the franchise are platform games, jumping from 2D to 3D in a modern era, and pretty much the poster boy for Nintendo. The games are well beloved and have been going on for many years, because of how simplistic it is. The story is usually the same. Peach gets kidnapped by Bowser, Mario goes through different worlds, getting into multiple round castles, to finally finding Bowser and defeating him, and getting the princess back. While the games are pretty simple in nature, being just platforming and understanding boss patterns, there's also the RPG subgenre, that instead of jumping on enemies while avoiding damage, these games have more of the RPG elements to it. Instead of doing platforms, it is more turn-based combat heavy. The Mario and Luigi RPG franchise are well beloved amongst the Mario fans, focusing more on character dialogues and more on the story side of things, and shows us what Nintendo, or in this case Alpha Dream, can do with the Mario and Luigi stories. The Mario and Luigi RPGs are a well-known series, but there was another Mario RPG game that probably not many people knows of, except for a small cult following. Heading back to 1996, a game was published on the SNES called Super Mario RPG: The Legends of the Seven Stars, a collaboration game between Nintendo and Square, which is now Square Enix. But over 20 years later, in 2023, came the remake of the classic game, promptly titled just Super Mario RPG. The game starts off with Peach sitting on the grass while picking up some flowers, and in usual Mario game fashion, Bowser comes in and swoops her up, Mario keep opening his door, then travels over to Bowser's Keep, basically skipping over the usual adventures that Mario would have, and acts as if Bowser is just a next door neighbor. Mario goes into the castle, fights and defeats Bowser on the top of a chandelier on the biggest castle. But before freeing Peach from her restraints, out of the blue a big sword pierces through the castle and the shockwave propels the characters and separates them, with Mario setting out on his journey as we find Peach and Bowser, but also new characters like Mallow and Geno. The journey starts off with Mario helping the tutorial Toad from rampaging Goombas with a form of turn-based gameplay. All of the enemies are seen on screen. We can play through this game by avoiding all enemies or go up to them to start the battle. When it starts, the character with the highest speed stat will be attacking first. There are the usual commands like normal attacks, blocks, choosing items, or even running away from fights. When you choose the normal attacks, the character will go up to the enemy to punch or smack them. But if you press the attack button in a certain frame before the hit connects, the character will perform an additional attack to get in more damage to the single enemy. But there is also another version of it. By hitting the attack just right, the attack will also ricochet to the other enemies, hitting them as well for less damage. You can easily finish a fight in a matter of seconds if you can hit those moves. Not only do we have normal attacks, we also have special attacks, with each character having their own set of specials that they can perform. Like for example, Mario's trademark jumping and fireball attacks, Bowser using his minions, Geno using his high-tech laser beams, Mallow using his thunder and weather-based moves, and Peach with supporting the party with group hugs and therapies, with each move going from single to multiple targeting as their leveling up progresses. But you can't use them willy-nilly as it uses these flowers, and those flowers in a more RPG term is the mana, and all of the characters share the same mana, meaning that it isn't based on the individual character but as a group. It makes the game have more strategizing as you need to think, like do you have enough mana flowers for the group to heal if Mario uses his fireball attacks. But even if there is a mana flower, you find so many flower jars that gives the party an additional number, and that you find so many maple syrup in shops and hidden items and chests that using the special moves isn't that much of a problem. Well, maybe you might miss a character turn while replenishing the mana flower, but that is about it. Upon fighting the Hammer Bros, the tutorial shows us another move. At the left bottom side of the battle screen there is a gauge, and upon doing a perfect block or attack, the gauge will fill up. And upon getting 100% gauge, you can then use something called Gauge Move. You can only use Toad Assist even after getting Mallow as the party member. The Toad Assist only gives you some random things that help with buffing a single character, but later on when you find Geno and joins as a third party member, the Gauge Move goes from Toad Assist to a devastating combo where all of the party members in a cool looking battle cutscene help each other for the attacks, depending on who is at the front line, since there can only be 3 on the front, with 2 as the backup. The Gauge move can either hit a single or multiple targets, or give shields and revive any downed characters at the back row. While you can only have up to 3 characters at the front, that doesn't mean that you cannot switch characters from the front line to the back line. Sometimes you have to do this because maybe the opponent is weak against certain elemental attacks, or using temporary damage buffs, or even having to switch because the character got knocked out. The good side about doing this, worth doing frequently, is that the switch is not a turn, meaning that the character who got switched in can immediately attack after. Upon finishing a fight and getting some EXP and eventually leveling up, you see all of the characters just vibing and dancing on the stage set, and also getting bonus stats for either vitality, physical damage and defense, or magical damage and defense. But in some cases in a fight, if you get a lucky prompt on one of the characters, this means that after battle there will pop up 3 different eggs. The 3 eggs will show what they contain. Close it and spin it around. If you get the Yoshi, either the EXP or coins will be doubled. Getting the bird is just a tie, so you lose nothing but also gain nothing. And last is this weird soot looking creature that removes the EXP or coins that you could have down to 0. But while this is an RPG, it still contains some of the Mario platform standards as we're used to. Also, a few things I've noticed with this game is the amount of minigames while going through the story. Some of them are optional, while some you need to do to continue with the story. I actually like these minigames. The minigames are quick to finish and don't overstay their welcome, and it's a nice change of pace from constant platforming and battling. I quite enjoyed these fast minigames. Some of the minigames, like for example riding a minecart, running up a hill going after booster, or when Mario is on a waterfall as you steer him towards coins and frog coins. Upon landing on one of these caves or holes, we then see the insides of the cave and see how beautiful this game is when for a few seconds you don't take control. I actually quite like the fact that they chibified the characters and is more closely resembling the SNES versions. It is also kind of funny just how big Mario's head is on his body, as he cannot lift his arms up above his head because of how big it is. Yes, it is a bit unnecessary to talk about, but I really wanted to mention this because of how charming this game is, and just how good looking and how beautiful it looks. You can see the beauty of the game by the aforementioned minigames. While there are minigames, there's also a healthy amount of puzzle solving. When you first get into the seaside town, you're told that the star has fallen into a sunken pirate ship close by. So using that information, you get down to the pirate ship after some cave diving. There you traverse through the sunken ship, and there are a few optional puzzles that you can do, as doing these puzzles will give you hints to open a final door to confront Jonathan Jones. Or you can just guess the password. Again, the same with the minigames. I actually quite enjoy it, and it doesn't take that long to finish, and it's pretty easy enough, cause sometimes it is nice to not think about battling and instead do some puzzle solving. You feel me? All of the characters have an interesting design choice, as you still have the Mario enemies, like Goombas, Shy Guys, Paratroopas, just all of Bowser's minions. But then you see other not so Mario enemies. What I find really interesting about the design is just how out of place some of them are in a Mario world, being probably the Square Enix original characters. Just the fact that there is a sword in a Mario game is wild. Like, what if there was a Mario game where Mario uses his sword instead of his legs? Oh wait, that is what Link is for. Going back to the characters, the story or the plot is actually kinda interesting, because while we do follow the shoes of Mario, he is always at the front of a battlefield. For me, it doesn't feel like he is the main character here. The main characters, in my opinion, are both Gino and Malo, and Mario and the rest of the gang are following along to help Gino find all of the 7 broken down star pieces and to rebuild the Star Road. While Gino's story arc is going around finding these stars, Marlo on the other hand is a subplot, where we help Marlo find his original parents. So as an extra spoiler warning, we find out that Marlo is the prince of Nimbus Town, a town way up to the sky, in which we defeated the fake prince, the big toucan and his mistress. Now I do have a confession to make though. I didn't realize that Marlo was in fact a sentient walking cloud, even though the game hinted at stuff like him being a bit fluffy, or how most of his moves are weather based, or even more so. So yes, it took me a while to figure it out. Also, let me just say that I really love how they show the personality of Mario in this game. Considering he is the silent protag, he would still need to explain stuff to other characters. So how does he do it? Why? Just pantomiming and transforming into the character he's trying to explain and articulate. It was always a treat when it happened, because it was basically just a recap for what happened like 2 hours ago or so, but done in a fun and interesting way. Peach is also with us, and she doesn't really really do much as a character, and is usually the backup healer or supporter for that matter. The character I found the most interesting is the King Koopa himself, Mr. Bowser. While Bowser is seen as the comic relief character, who will hide his crying emotions for Mario to uphold his image as the big bad Koopa King. There are also moments in this game where we see another side to Bowser. For instance, when we reach the Monstro Town, we go into one of the shops, and there the shopkeeper is a Goomba called Goomhilde, who was previously under Bowser's command. While this scene is pretty short and doesn't stay for that long, it though shows us that Bowser is a good bad guy, if that makes sense, as he is best of luck in Goomhilde. Even though Mario is right there besides and sees all of this, Bowser could have easily gotten mad at the Goomba with a triple S just to show the image of being an intimidating guy, but instead said best of luck and continued on. Probably a bit unnecessary to speak about, but they wanted to, so there's that. Following along the story are also those hidden chests scattered about, and if a character has equipped a certain accessory, a prompt will pop up that there's in fact a hidden chest somewhere in the room, and you're just going to jump in a random spot to find it. But to be honest here, I mostly ignored them after a while since finding it was a bit annoying. What they just amounted to was me jumping everywhere in a small room to trigger the hidden chest, to not finding it after jumping for a minute or 3, to then retrace the jumps again, and then I found the chest, even though it was on the spot I was jumping at. So finding the hidden chests was mostly just pixel perfect jump, or at least that's what I think. And it just halted my progress in general, so I just stopped looking for them. Now for the soundtrack. The soundtrack is really good, and it's made by the famous composer Yoko Shimomura, who, if you don't know, and according to Wikipedia just to make sure, is the composer for games such as Xenoblade Chronicles, Legend of Mana, and the more well-known game Kingdom Hearts. She has a certain style that you can immediately tell is Shimomura, or at least have a gut feeling about it. Her music really translates well in the Mario RPG games, but I think people wouldn't necessarily know that some of the music is from Mario games at first. If you only made someone listen to Mario RPG music, most people would probably say Kingdom Hearts, since they think Kingdom Hearts is more of a well-known game than Mario RPG, but they might be wrong. And the fact that she is back for the remake after around 20 plus years is really cool. Now, here are some standout OSTs. I don't really have many negatives to say about this game. It is a short game of just 12-13 hours long, which you can finish it in one day if you wanted to. The story is simple, as is other Mario games. The characters are interesting with some Square Enix enemies mixed within, the fun puzzle minigames, and some amazing soundtracks. While there's one negative thing, and I noticed that modern games had this problem, but the fact that this game was around $60 for just 12 hours of gameplay is a bit much, which is just my opinion on that matter. But all in all, it is a fun game, and you should definitely play this game when you have the chance.